partner engineering here at BizDev. I've been at GitHub for a couple of years. Some of y'all might recognize me from my role as VP of Engineering and Product. So when I think about developer velocity and productivity, I think about it in such a wide breadth, from a product view, partner view, and really how do we make our engineering team's life better? Because we've seen over and over from external studies and just being in it ourselves that when we reduce friction by having an interconnected tool chain and we take out some of those mundane tasks, that you unlock innovation. You get the developer in the zone, in the flow, where they're putting that mental capacity towards the things that delight your customers and delight the users of what we're building. And believe me, that's what it's all about. And now, more so than ever, I think really creating this interconnected tool chain is so important as a virtual event and virtual teams. I'm calling in from Portland, Oregon today and supporting a global team at GitHub where we do GitHub on GitHub for GitHub. So like I said, super, super close to my heart about this innovation through our developer experiences. And in this talk today, we're going to share some of the most common DevSecOps, because we all needed another acronym out there, challenges that our customers and our developers are facing in our developer-first, community-driven approach to application security. And what we're going to cover in this talk is seamless developer workflows. And I'm going to talk to you about some new hot features that we have that enable that, like auto merge pull requests and our new collaboration tools. Then we're going to shift over and talk about developer-focused security and compliance, that SecOps part, as I mentioned in that hot new acronym. Really the tools that allow the developer to stay focused on their work, but have the sense of comfort and security in that deployment work chain, knowing that your own personal compliance is always going to be taken care of, and we don't have to put that burden on the devs. And then finally, a reliable, scalable platform to build on that's available whenever your developers need to use it, because if it ain't up, it's not real, right? You know, we at GitHub live and breathe this culture. We want enterprises to work, operate, ship software the way that GitHub does, because we do believe that developer velocity equals a truly great developer experience. They're one and the same. And here at GitHub, because we are GitHub on GitHub for GitHub, we think that it's an unparalleled experience that we are offering to have these tool chains in place so that we can just get the great features out that people want. You know, we're more than source code management. I know when you think of GitHub, you're like, whoa, it's a good place to put my code. It really is an end-to-end integrated platform. So how about we get in there and talk about it? So delivering the best possible developer experience is the heart of everything that we do at GitHub. It drives every feature we ship, every decision we make. We draw on our own experiences using GitHub to build GitHub for GitHub and for y'all, as well as the experiences from you, our community that has every day on our platform. While we have an incredibly talented people on our team, their creativity can never be matched the collective knowledge and skills of the global developer community. As the home to so many of the world's developers, we tap into those emerging trends and best practices to build the platform for all developers, all makers, and all builders, with the goal of making their lives easier with each new ship. At the end of the day, that means helping developers do what they do best. It means removing distractions and automating away those mundane tasks as much as possible so that developers can focus on the creative work of their craft and do what they love doing with an awesome experience. We talk to developers all the time, and we also hear from businesses of all sizes, from enterprise to startups to dreaming of having a business. And everybody, I'm telling you, everybody wants to improve their ability to deliver software. In our experience, for businesses, it's fairly simple. You accelerate velocity and improve quality, and at the end, you got a happier team by focusing on that experience. So yes, put the effort and energy into it. You will be happy. And so we listened and obsessed about how we can continue to complement that interconnected development work chain. If you didn't get to see all the awesome stuff we shipped at Universe, don't worry. I'm going to give you a quick preview. But this is really the focus to promote that developer productivity and innovation. So let me quickly talk to you about these new features and the improved features that have been designed for the seamless enablement. I really am excited about auto merge, so I'll try not to over fangirl it, but it's pretty awesome. We showed you how to ship even faster with auto merge on pull request. Yeah, we did that. We also, Actions has a brand new workflow visualizer, protected environments, and deployment approvals, making it a full-featured CI/CD platform. We announced corporate sponsors, enabling organizations and businesses to help support the open source projects they rely on, because almost 99% of software that we use, at least in some capacity, has been driven and built by the community. You know, if you're using Kubernetes or even React, guess what? That's open source. And a big one, we also announced Enterprise Server 3.0, and it is coming so soon with full support for the developers' tool sets like Actions, packages, and code scanning, and even more. But I saved the biggest hype machine for last. You all know you want it. I wanted it too. That's right. Dark mode. We unveiled dark mode for GitHub.com. We know that you have developers all around the world, and even developers that don't like working in daylight hours. They still prefer that nighttime pizza eating 2 a.m. in the zone developer flow. Well, good for them. We have now made their eyes feel a little bit of rest with amazing dark mode. You know, we showed you how to push and ship faster with auto merge and pull requests. Actions also, so it's just the beginning. So I get asked all the time about focusing on the developer experience. And honestly, like, what does that mean? Like, you say developer experience, but why? It's really the day-to-day tasks that your team come in to produce your digital products, to delight your customers. A great dev experience boils down to 3 components. First, the developer workflow, including frictionless collaboration and automating unnecessary manual tasks so developers can stay in flow. Second, is developer-focused security and compliance, to take out the worry and risk away from developers and allow them to focus on their work, because security should be as important as your operations. And if we can find a way to automate that within the tool chain, then we are saving time for those wonderful feature sets. And finally, platform reliability, to ensure your platform is scalable, resilient, and available whenever your developers want or need to access it. Because you can build amazing features, but if your product ain't responsive or reliable, does it even matter? I don't think so. So let's take a deeper dive in these 3 components and talk about the developer workflow. So here at GitHub, we centralized your workflows around developers, around the software they build. Most developers just want to write great code and for it to have an impact. CI/CD, testing, issue management, refactoring, and so on are seen by many devs, maybe myself included, as more of an annoyance that gets in the way and interrupts the flow. According to research by UC Irvine and Humboldt University in Germany, it takes on average 23 minutes to enter an optimal creative state, or what we call flow, or to re-enter it after a distraction. So staying in the flow is critical for developer productivity. It also just feels good to be cranking away at something with some deep focus. I know, I love that feeling. I love it. And when I get knocked out, I don't love it. The intuitive collaboration and automation features we built into GitHub help developers stay in that flow, allowing your team to do so much more. Because I'm going to tell you, context switching is incredibly difficult when you're trying to write a feature. You just need to be there, focused and thinking about those customers. So having that flow is so precious. Now let's put this into some numbers around this. The 2019 DORA report found that elite and high-performing DevOps teams are automating significantly more than low-performing teams. In fact, these elite teams are developing 208 times more frequent code deploys than those who aren't. Their lead time from commit to deploy is 106 times faster. And they recover from incidents 2,604 times more quickly. And let me tell you what, automation not only increases the time developers spend on code, but it also increases job satisfaction because they're able to minimize those distractions and stay in the flow and focus on what is driven by creativity and collaboration instead of redundancy and interruptions. And this time, even if it's seconds, actually adds up to so much. GitHub defined one of the most foundational code collaboration workflows when we created the GitHub pull request. I know you all know what it is, the PR, the magical PR, providing an interface and workflow for sharing, suggesting, and reviewing code changes throughout open source and private repos. Prior to the pull request, I certainly do remember this myself, developers literally emailed their diffs to one another. You had to hope the person on the other side knew what to do with your code and what it did before you can even attempt to merge. So it was a back and forth explaining why you wrote what and what's it going to do and ensuring that you got a really solid code review, but doing it in a really clunky way. That one feature set the benchmark for how we approach supporting developer workflows, starting with the highly repetitive developer task and making them significantly easier and a joy to use and iterate from there. For example, at Universe, we announced the latest feature on top of pull requests. Like I said, hello, auto merge. Auto merge accelerates time to merge and allows more work to happen in parallel. No more time spent tracking down pull request authors, updating out-of-date branches, or waiting for tests just to pass. So you can click the merge button. Once all requirements are met, your PR can merge, rebase, or squash automatically. I'm going to tell you, rebasing and squashing automatically is a godsend. So the developer who's waiting to go in the back and merge the PR herself, auto merge is handling that for her now. And she's already writing more code, opening another pull request, creating a new release, or pairing and collaborating with another developer. I personally think for developers, this is like a finally moment. And for enterprises, now you can just set consistent requirements across your entire organization for merging pull requests instead of having the developer come back and merge each one. Let the tools do it for you. And all those auto merge pull requests have universally applied security and compliance review, reducing security risk and human error, all the way allowing developers to focus their energy on what truly adds value. But improving a workflow isn't enough about in a developer's experience. It's not just one feature or one capability though, because we all have our own precious workflow. We all do what we do the way we do it. So it's about helping complement those workflows in more than one way. Keeping the developers focused on high impact work extends to every facet of the developer experience. And we're helping developers stay connected and productive with native mobile applications that are available for iOS and Android. Need to merge a pull request, but you're away from your desk? Swipe merge on your phone and boom, you can do it. I don't know about y'all, but like my hours are all over the map and I actually am a hardcore user of GitHub Mobile. If I'm sitting on the couch and a global teammate needs to be unblocked, I'm swiping to merge or commenting away. And that is another just small incremental helping piece of our workflow that allows us not to have to spend a lot of mental cycles. And in addition to mobile, we introduced GitHub CodeSpaces. Developers get a fully featured cloud-hosted dev environment that spins up in minutes directly within GitHub. So you can start contributing to a project immediately or switch between projects without delay. CodeSpaces dramatically reduces the overhead of managing dev environments. And if you've ever had to be on the short end of the stick managing dev environments like me, this is a godsend because you never know what somebody needs. If you have a huge production environment, there's so many nuances of what that dev environment looks like to really support your production code, right? How's it going to act in the wild? And having a fully hosted IDE takes out the worry that you can't do it the way that you need to do it when it's in your customer hands. And guess what? It's all in the cloud now. It gives your developers that flexibility and drives collaboration within your organization. Teammates can jump in quickly to work with others on a project, even when they have a limited amount of time. Just spin up an environment in an instant and they're good to go. It simplifies access, eliminating reliance on institutional knowledge or specific individuals, ensuring work can be done whenever, by whomever is needed. And like I said, From an IT or site engineering perspective, CodeSpaces reduces the time and effort spent on fleet management. By shifting dev environments to the cloud, there's no longer a need to provision and maintain developer environments on local machines. This also has the potential of reducing the hardware requirements for your dev boxes, as the amount of processing happening locally is pretty minimal. Great software development workflows include more than developers, and they don't stop when the human leaves the room. Great workflows do the work for you. They bring in the right people at the right time, and they fail intelligently, and they self-monitor. That's how you increase developer velocity, through smart, interconnected workflows and tool chains. And while we're building those capabilities into code-heavy workflows, we're also building this philosophy into your infrastructure. I'm talking about automation, and particularly the increasingly powerful GitHub Actions. I know you're going to hear more this week about GitHub Actions, but truly it's a game changer. And at Universe, we announced the launch of GitHub Enterprise Server 3.0, a release that I'm excited about because it delivers the latest and greatest features, such as code scanning, packages, and actions to the community standard for workflow automation, to our self-hosted product. GitHub Enterprise Server now has access to powerful CI, CD, and automation capabilities built into GitHub and housed next to their code. And I'm pretty proud of this. In less than a year, Actions has become the #1 CI solution on GitHub in both public and private repositories. But that's just where it starts. Across all open source repositories, repos that use Actions on pull requests, see PRs merge 1.2 times faster, and the number of merged PRs increased by 1.4 times. That's 34% more pull requests merged. We're talking about developer velocity. That's velocity on fire. And by having connected workflows and having Actions do the heavy lifting, you can see the proof of the pudding right there, folks. It just makes the experience so much better. But don't just take it from me. It scales exponentially with your team. And I love Hung. According to him, who in the 3M team, building with GitHub allowed them to go from 400 deployments to 60 to 6,000 deployments. That's a 15 times increase in ships. So, I know I'm hyping the developer experience, but I hope everybody's listening. If you have development teams, invest in it. Be like 3M. I'm not suggesting that you have to just choose one solution. Choose the ones that work for you, but they're available and they're out there. Another one that I love, and we think about all these other innovators really taking on the developer experience is something that is going to enable their products. We look at Capillary, who deployed across 5 regions, and it used to take an hour to finish the deployments. And now they're down from 4 to 5 hours previously. It's huge. If you got a mono repo and you're sitting there waiting to merge, having some automation built in and having the test run and having the whole complete life cycle just really allows your developers to move on and keep working on the things that are most important and most delightful and inspiring to them. The open source community, including teams and companies around the world, like some of you here probably are a part of, have come together to build, share, and improve on actions that simplify these workflow automations. A number of GitHub partners are creating what we call verified actions, which means that we've verified the source of the actions your organization is using. If you want an integration with AWS, boom, go choose that action. I'm sure that's out there for you. And in fact, we have over 7,000 community actions in the marketplace, right? So it's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many actions out there helping developers automate everything from testing to incident management to my favorite Kubernetes deployments, because who doesn't love a container? As with any other code, you can fork and modify the actions to your needs, then share them with others so they can continue to iterate on what you've built. Because every good developer knows you ain't the original writer. You fork it, update it, make it your own. Because we want to be fast. We want to take the patterns on that have already been used and reuse them. Why not? And I love this quote from McKesson. I could have said it better myself. The more you allow developers to do their best work, the more you automate the manual tasks, the more you can do for your customers. And, at GitHub, you can hear it here. We give developers back their time. We give them their focus. We accelerate their code building process. And thinking about it this way, if we automate the way the ops and DevOps, developers have more time to focus on that customer experience. And that's what we all want. Believe me, nobody wants to sit and just do the same thing over and over and over. Your SREs don't, your DevOps engineers don't, none of us do. And we know with GitHub Actions represents the way that developer-focused workflows enhance the developer experience by producing shared communal and secure ways to automate away the manual steps to shipping software. Action really allows developers to focus on writing code and in turn, deliver great products to your customers, whether they're internal or external. But the best developer experiences require more than the best features and an uninterrupted workflow. They also need a peace of mind. Companies such as AIG appreciate how this allows their development team to spend time crafting the product because they don't want to burn down environments. But they also, just like we care, is about SecOps. Securing software is truly a team effort. Discovering, reporting, remediating vulnerabilities is a full-time job. And not everyone is equipped to do it. We've captured the expertise of world-leading security experts in our product so that addressing security concerns becomes a streamlined part of automated workflows rather than something developers needed to do on the side. Of course, security isn't just about preventing bad actors from breaching your code. It's also about ensuring, that human error doesn't expose your customers to risk. On a random sample of over 500 advisories across 6 package ecosystems, we found that only 17% of security vulnerabilities are from malicious behavior, such as backdoor attempts. So to put it another way, 83% of vulnerabilities are simply the result of human error, mistakes that anyone can make, and that can happen anywhere. Vulnerabilities are hard to identify and expensive, time-consuming to remediate. With GitHub, you have an entire community of security researchers helping you find and fix vulnerabilities. And applying this tooling and expertise to open source software, suddenly the whole supply chain becomes more secure for all of us. Given that so much software today is built on open source, so much, we believe in both securing the software supply chain and frequently scanning code before deployment to prevent the vulnerabilities and their variants from making their way into production. Security on GitHub works just like your developers work. It's centered around your code. We're meeting developers where they are, embedded in existing collaboration workflows and bolstered by the confidence and power of the open source community. We can look at the process of patching vulnerabilities as an example of how this works in favor of developers. Repositories that automatically generate a depend-upon pull request patch their software 13 days sooner. Once again, that's 1.4 times faster than those who don't. That's huge when it comes to security. That's 13 days you're getting ahead of somebody getting into a place they shouldn't be. And any second, any minute counts when you're thinking about remediating things. If you're not already using Dependabot, I'm serious. You should go check it out. It is that awesome. And as I mentioned, we have an incredible team of security research. We built their expertise directly and intuitively into the GitHub Enterprise platform. GitHub Enterprise Server customers now have access to GitHub's Advanced Security Suite. It's that DevSecOps in that I'm talking about, which includes CodeQL, code scanning, as a part of their server deployment. This was previously available on github.com, but I am so pumped that now we get to extend this onto our server offering. The combination of advanced security and our supply chain security features, including Dependabot, like I said, offers companies with an on-premise deployment platform to help secure the use of their open source, simplified code security, and automate their application security practices. And again, at Universe, we announced the beta of this availability of secret scanning in GitHub Enterprise Server 3.0 to prevent credentials and other protected information from being accidentally exposed or giving system access to potential intruders. I don't know about you, but I know one time in my lifetime, probably only once, where I may have inadvertently uploaded a token. This just gives you peace of mind. Having these tool sets in place allows, nobody ever to do that, hopefully, like me, and put your systems in a vulnerable state. CodeQL code scanning, Dependabot secret scanning, and security advisories all work together to secure your code end to end. Take Postmates, for example, who leverage CodeQL's code scanning to do literally no other development-focused security tooling can do. CodeQL adds value by finding variants coming through other channels and in other products. It can track data from source to sink, which is particularly useful for things like cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. I've never seen anything else like CodeQL. Hey, Dave, me either. I'm going to tell you, I don't think there is another one out there. But maybe there is, but at the end of the day, focusing on security operations has to be something that is just a part of that cycle. It can't be a second-time job because it's got to be a first job. GitHub security features meet developers where they are in the source code. And we have some great partners who are working to provide additional security capabilities to GitHub customers through their own integration. So go check it out. You can find them in Actions. You can find them in the marketplace. Accelerating velocity is critical to keeping pace, but doing so without investing on security can really create additional risk. We want to help teams ship more secure code faster with a developer-focused approach, supported by the community with the right tools and the right partners is always the best way to get there. So we've talked about the DevOps, we talked about the SecOps, but does it matter? Does it really matter if the platform is not reliable? Because at the end of the day, we want to delight those engineers. We don't want to have to wait on a slow, laggy site, something riddled with bugs. We have to have platform reliability embedded within our ethos of how we deliver digital products. And GitHub is where the world builds software. Over 50 million developers trust GitHub to collaborate, test, build, and deploy code, including over 70% of the Fortune 50. In fact, in the last year, over 60 million new repos were added and over 1.9 billion contributions were made to those. And those are some seriously big numbers. The stability and resilience of our global platform is critical to providing developers with a platform they can count on, they can trust, and know it's always going to be up for them. GitHub Enterprise is built on the same principles as GitHub.com. And as a result, benefits from years we've spent optimizing the platform to be trusted, reliable, and resilient. You know, from day one, we focused on building great products and great experiences for the developers. We live, we breathe it, who spend their days and nights on GitHub, from pull requests to CodeSpaces to Actions to CodeQL and everything in between. Our vision is to build the home for all developers, to drive developer innovation by reducing the frictions, by having an interconnected tool chain. And maybe you don't use all of GitHub, but taking this kind of insight into how you can also spend time creating a highly connected developer tool chain will do nothing but unlock your developers' innovation, curiosity, and hopefully give them back some job satisfaction so that they're building the next mission-critical software and having a good time doing it. Because who doesn't want to have a good time doing what they do? As I said, developers benefit from working in a collaborative community built around code, one that scales with each new project, allows for expertise sharing, cross-team problem solving, and code and workflow reuse. By replicating this experience in-house, you and your teams can benefit from the practices that help open source thrive and grow. Call it inner sourcing, call it a digital transformation. It boils down to empowering your developers to work the way they work best, collaboratively and free from unnecessary distractions so they can stay in the flow zone. Regardless of your goals this year, whether it to be improving your workflows, increasing developer productivity and happiness, or to achieve your vision of digital transformation, investing in a top-notch developer experience, it's going to be key to your success. One that embraces the developer workflow, seamlessly addresses security and compliance, and provides access to a scalable, reliable platform built for developers, by developers. And we're here to partner with you to accelerate developer velocity and deliver world-class software. We're truly excited what the future holds, and we're excited to have that future be with you. So I want to say a quick thank you so much for your time today. And just guess what? You can see this video on demand. It's going to be up there, infocus.github.com. Email instructions are going to be sent, so you don't even need to think about it. But as Martin said at the beginning, before we wrap, if you'd like a deeper dive on anything we covered, or you want to talk to me, that's right. That's just click on book a meeting button right at the top of your screen, and we will get in touch with you shortly. And lastly, I know I'm asking a lot from you today. Please take a minute or two to complete a short survey about your experience with us today and the rest of the week. You'll find that link in the survey in the Docs tab over there in the panel to the right of the video player. We designed this program for you, and we want to be sure you're getting the most value of your time. So let us know your feedback, good, bad, or ugly. We want to hear it. But don't forget, we also are going to have QA after this with me and my esteemed colleague, Mr. Martin Woodward. So don't be shy. Get your questions in there. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks.
Thanks, Dana. That's fantastic. Thanks for having us. If you want to stop sharing, I think we can both be on screen at the same time. Woo! Look at this.
Hey!
It's amazing. Good to see you. People really enjoyed that. I really enjoy listening to you talk. It's the first time I've been called esteemed as well. So normally you think of all sorts of different names to call me rather than esteemed. Fantastic. Hey, we've got loads of questions. As Dana said, remember you can ask questions in the Q&A panel there, just on the side of your screen. But we've got a bunch of them. I'm going to try and answer them as they were liked, because you can also give thumbs up to everybody else's questions, by the way. I'm going to try and answer them roughly in that order, but I'll go down and pick some out to try and group them together. So for any questions about anything to do with GitHub, like now's the time to put Dana on the hot seat. So we'll see how it goes. This should be fun. So we'll know how it goes. Right, we've got a bunch of questions first of all about insights, actually, Dana. So let's see what we know about this. So Peter Phillips has said, are there tools to measure pipeline productivity, such as commit to deploy time? Really looking at some of those DORA metrics, that sort of stuff.
We do have a product called GitHub Insights, which allows you to drill in there from that merge, from your pull request time to your commit to deploy time. There's a few form factor forms and charts that you can utilize in GitHub Insights. If you cruise over to the Insights tab, take a peek and click on it, and you should be able to see some of the statistics and metrics that you want. We are hot on Insights right now, and we're continuing to add more and more capabilities. So we'd love to hear from you of like what you do want to see. What do you want to see in Insights? How do you measure productivity? We do anchor a lot of it, like you mentioned, Martin, off of DORA, right? We are so lucky here at GitHub to have Dr. Nicole Forrestgren on staff. She is the top leading expert, in my opinion, and probably in the global opinion, on really what does developer productivity look like and how do you measure it? And I'm going to say Insights and analytics are just one small sliver on how to do that. But having all of this qualitative and quantitative data allows you to get that bigger picture of the productivity that your team has. So go check it out.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things we talk about sometimes is like idea to data. So, how quickly can you not only think about it, but get it, code it, deploy it, and then learn from what you've deployed? Because the whole point of doing DevOps is if you're just shipping quicker, then great. You're just going to go in the wrong direction even quicker. But by learning, then that's when you're actually figuring out what's happening. So brilliant. While we're talking about some of the DORA metrics and things like that, and some of the insights stuff, there was also a question around from Rodrigo Amoro, was asking, do you know if there's anything to extract metrics about in the PRs, which validations fail the most? I thought that was a really good question. I don't think that's in Insights yet, but maybe you could do something with the API to figure that out.
No, that's not in Insights. I'd love for it to be in Insights. We're still in our beta of it, so a lot of new features to come. But we have the GitHub public API, which allows you to source a lot of the information that you want. So if there's an object or event in GitHub, you can source from that. It just depends on how it's written. With an API, of course, it's rate limited. So, you have to make sure that you know what you're querying for, but go check out the API documents, that's some of the data there. And then I just want to call out, we have so many integrations and ecosystem opportunities within GitHub. Maybe you don't want to do this yourself. That's where I say, go look at GitHub Actions, go look at the marketplace, go take a peek around, because if you've thought of it, I'm sure somebody else in the GitHub developer community has probably thought about it too, and has already built a solution for you. But as you said, Martin, this isn't something that we have right now in product, but definitely something that we're going to be continuing to look at in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And another one that's probably, I guess, is API based, Dana, but Laura Hall was asking if we provide any metrics or analytics around coding days and pull request sizes. Now, around coding days, I've got a top tip for you here. We just recently added a GraphQL API over in .com for code contribution. So basically what makes up the code graph, that you see. So that's available on .com. So I'm guessing will be available in Enterprise Server very, very soon. But pull request size, I haven't actually tried that one before. I guess that, again, that's going against the API, isn't it, to do that?
It is. And that's an interesting metric. I actually like that because, it's kind of like a cardinal sin to have like a massive ass pull request, at least, in my opinion, because that means somebody on the end is doing a really, really deep code review. And it's really hard to decipher, really if there's problems or what you need to look at when you're in like a 2,000 line pull request. And so that's an interesting one. I like that. I don't know. Let me know if you can pull that from the API. I'm actually going to go look, but I don't think you can yet.
I think you can look at it if you looked at it by the number of files in a pull request, you could definitely maybe look at that. But yeah, interestingly, if you go to Octaverse, GitHub Octaverse, again, talking about our hero, we're a bit of a stand for Nicole Forsgren. But if you go to the Octaverse reports, Nicole and her team and the data analytics team at GitHub did a bunch of research around pull request size and actually how that's varied over the past few months, as we've been going through these unprecedented times we're living in now. And what I found fascinating was how the pull request size has come down on average. So we're doing more frequent, smaller pull requests, which, back to what you were saying, Dana, is like that's actually better. This is like we seem to be coding better with doing all this remote work. So it's fascinating research. Right, now we've got a bunch of questions around CodeSpaces. I've got it. So I know it's one of your favorite features. So a first one from Kyle, which I know you're going to give us a very wishy-washy answer around, but it's the one that everybody wants to know. When is CodeSpaces going to be generally available? Go on, Dana. Just tell us now. Why don't you, please?
I just a little parched. Hopefully you got that. I think the internet's kind of breaking up here. No, I'm playing. It's going to be available this year. I know. You were like, come on, Dana. Give me a date and time and down to the millisecond. No, it's going to be available this year because we want to give you the best experience, right? We don't want to just ship something out there and be like, okay, this is good enough. We want it to be the best. And so we are doubling down. We're looking at those use cases. We're thinking about that, once again, that developer workflow, and we want to nail it. We want to get the experience right. Right now, it's a beta, so go sign up. Go. You don't even have to wait. Like, why wait for general availability? Go use it now. It's available for beta. Go try it out.
Sounds good. And then one from Jetal Desai was around right now, CodeSpaces is limited to support, it's just the Visual Studio Code editor that's there. Are there any plans for supporting other editors, things like IntelliJ or, some of those types of environments for the CodeSpaces customers?
We're really focused on supporting languages more so than different IDEs because CodeSpaces is an IDE. So if you're a Java developer, back in the day, used IntelliJ and Eclipse for life. At least that's what I thought, Martin. I think we both go back there, man. I'm showing my age, but we're really trying to build in the language support that's needed. So necessarily CodeSpaces should be able to do all the functionality just in the browser for what you have in your typical IDEs.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think my only claim to fame in the Eclipse world is I wrote the code which allows you to generate the icons on 64-bit Windows for the Eclipse, any RCP-based Eclipse instances. But yes, that's how old I am. When I remember 32 to 64-bit. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Danny's got a quick question for us. Would you be able to repeat the source? You had a stat about 23 minutes to get into the flow. Mm-hmm. Was asking if you could repeat sort of the source of that, where that came from.
That came from UC Davis and Humboldt University. They did some research on really just focus time and when you jump out of it, right? Like we all talk, I don't know if you saw the Disney movie Soul. There's like this whole place where people go and they're in the flow. And now whenever I think about being in the flow, I think of that dang movie. Good job, Disney. But that research was based on some papers that they did there and that we looked at. And this is, once again, Dr. Nicole Forston, some of her data points of thinking about developer productivity also shows that as well in the output of Dora on just how developers work and how, people that are in creative state of minds stay that focused, because, it's really hard to context shift. And, there's this fantasy out there that like people can naturally multitask. Yeah, you think you can, but what are you producing? A whole bunch of, I think we say this in the industry, spreading peanut butter around.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally want, full stack peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So having that zone time be precious is definitely there. So yeah, that's UC Davis and Humboldt University. So in California and in Germany.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm going to jump back to CodeSpaces actually. Sorry, I just missed one question on that side. And remember, what we're doing here is we're going through live. We're going through the question and answers panel. So you'll see over on the right-hand side, there's a Q&A panel there. If you want to ask your questions live of Dana, then you can. She's a font of all knowledge. So please do drop questions in there. So Jatal actually had another question around CodeSpaces, and it was, how much can organizations customize their code space to make it specific for their organization and their project?
So, we're still in that beta phase and we're learning of what the customization and extensibility that organizations will need. It will have add-on support so that you can add additional add-ons within the browser, but that's to come, So right now we're still in the early state of developing and focusing on the speed, the reliability, the experience, and then, really building for all. And then we're going to dive in and see what, the unique cases are out there, because we really like to approach this from, like, what is the main way that people do their work? How are they going to interact with this? And a lot of us software engineers, you don't build a bunch of one-offs, but we want to grant that extensibility. And we know that extensibility is so important. So we look at CodeSpaces as an extension of our ecosystem. And I'm confident in the future that we're going to have some ability there that you can add your own little plugins of what you need to do what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely. I know that I think it was just last week actually, a feature got added into the beta where to help you create what's called a dev container.json file. And then that's where then all the magic goop happens, that it specifies exactly what's running. And I actually, so in that dev container.json, and there is documentation about this. It's actually a Visual Studio Code thing. You can find a bunch of that documentation today. The dev container, you can go in and customize what's the Docker file, all that sort of thing. And then this here, Dana, we know I like my IoT gadgets. So this is a Raspberry Pico, which is their new IoT device. So this isn't even embedded Linux. It's just like a microprocessor, their brand new silicon. And I actually created a code space which allows you to do dev, test, and deploy to a Raspberry Pi Pico. So not even like a machine out in the cloud, but it deploys back onto this microcontroller. So yeah, you can completely customize them. Go have a look at that dev container folder, and then obviously the Visual Studio Code extension.
I mean, Martin, you nailed it. Like your deployment, point is your deployment point, right? Like you can customize it. Like if you say like, oh, my deployment targets over here, just as you've done with your crazy Raspberry Pi, that's so cool. I think, you can already do that, but other customizations like that are more, particular to your workflow, that's something to be seen.
Hey, speaking about deployments and actions and things like that, we've got a great question from Robert Love. Robert was asking, he's mentioning actually that they got some security concerns around community actions, because obviously when you specify an action, you do org/repo and then and then quite often you use V2 or whatever, V3, something like that, or latest, and where they're corresponding to the specific tag, the tag ref that's been pushed in that repo for that action. Robert was saying that they've got concerns about that because tags can point to any version in code, and people can update tags and things. So do you have any recommendations around what people should do when referencing community contributed actions?
I mean, look for the verified creator badge, because that is based on the organization, right? So when we go and we show that verified on the actions, it's picking up the organization who created it. So you may have an endpoint that changes because maybe they've updated it, but you have a sense of I guess, security, yeah, that you know that it's coming from who it was created from. It's a little harder when we talk about open source, versus like, big enterprise type partners and companies that you've probably heard of. But I say, look at that organizational path for the verified. Maybe you don't have, yet the ability in your ecosystem to have more community driven. Go check out those partner ones, because a lot of the partner driven actions are built upon some of the community driven stuff. And maybe you'll get a better sense of security if you go through one of the ones where we are built by our partners, as we saw earlier in the deck, like AWS, Launch Darkly, so on and so forth. So look for that, because those are verified through the organization.
Definitely. And I know a little sort of one trick that can be used is because it's just a tag ref, it's just a reference you're using on that little app thing. So you can put the full commit ID after the repo if you want to. Now, the trick there is put the full commit ID. I've seen some people like using short chars to reference it, which was working. We've actually disabled that recently. But obviously, if you're going to go to the, the whole hog of actually locking to a specific commit ID, you can put the full char there. But, that's got some pros and cons, hasn't it, Dana? Because obviously you're pinning to a very, very specific version. And that's with a char, which is a cryptographic hash. So it's going to be that version of the code. But equally, you don't pick up security fixes. If they want to push a security fix to V2 of their action, you have to know and then go back and update your action. So it's kind of a trade-off, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, this is an area that we want to hear from you, Robert. Hit us up. Like, I'm sure all of us would love to work through it and understand how we can improve this experience. Like Martin called out, you can get in there and you can write your whole commit ref. But at the end of the day, you want to typically, right, you want to get the latest and greatest, because that comes with all the fixes, all of the things that may not be in the other version of that code. So.
Fantastic. Another quick actions question from Dale. Dale says he loves using GitHub Actions. Yay! Saves them and the team so much time. The question Dale had was, will we ever get branch-specific rules for merging? I.e., squash and merge is only allowed on, say, like your main branch or something like that. What do you think? Do you reckon that's something?
I reckon that is something. We just released auto merge, and like we're talking about how do we complement, and then we ensure that we're merging in the right place, that we have our, whatever it is, our deployment pipeline checks and balances that roll through. Maybe we want it through a specific branch. I can't say when it's coming, but I can tell you definitely something that we're interested in doing. So keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I tell you what, remember, if you want to ask questions, we've got the Q&A panel on the right-hand side here. But Dana, I was worried that we'd have enough questions to fill a full 25 minutes in, but we've got a lot of questions. So if it's okay with people, I'm going to try and pick some of the questions out here, because I don't think we're going to get through them all. But remember, if you want to have a chat with somebody from GitHub, go to that book a meeting button. Somebody will get in contact with you and arrange a meeting with you and answer all the questions you ever might want to have. So let me see. I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick some stuff here, like from people we haven't heard of yet. So is the CodeQL, is that available for GitHub Enterprise customers? The CodeQL feature we're talking about.
GitHub Enterprise Server 3.0 will be available coming soon. You can already use it now on GitHub Enterprise Cloud. It's out there, but it is coming available with GitHub Enterprise Server 3.0. And we're pretty stoked about it, because it runs locally within your protected environment. And so you don't have to reach outside to do what you needs to do there.
Fantastic. And then just mark that one as answer. Here's some rounds around Dependabot. So Rodrigo had a question around any plans to extend Dependabot to support other systems commonly used with mobile. So that's things like Gradle, CocoaPods, Carthage, that sort of thing.
I am not sure about that, but hit that book a meeting or come and talk to us. Like I'm sure the Dependabot product managers are going to be able to tell a little bit more. We also do have a product calendar that talks about some of these bigger releases that are coming out. But this is a smaller one. I think it's the way that we approach these types of feature requests, or like if the community is like, we need it, for Gradle, then we listen and we do it. That's what we try to do and prioritize it with the other needs. So if the community comes and says, hey, we want it, you know, it's like Field of Dreams. We will probably build it. I can't say when we will build it, but if there's enough demand, we will build it.
Yeah, definitely. And Todd had some great feedback here, Todd Robinson. You know, we were talking about the thing where you could lock to a commit ID, but then you don't pick up, you know, security updates. And Todd was saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was some sort of equivalent to Dependabot for actions that would automatically notify about known security updates with actions and then like let you know about them and maybe do a PR for you. So that's actually a pretty cool idea. So I'm going to go pass that feedback on to the team after we finish this call. I'm gonna probably, we've got time for one more question before I need to start wrapping up. So GitHub Advanced Security, is there any way to get GitHub Advanced Security for non-enterprise accounts? Do you know? I don't know the answer to that question myself.
Not currently. It's available for enterprise only right now.
Fantastic. Well, there we go. That was a nice simple answer. Anyway, so yeah, awesome. Right, Dana, thank you so much for joining us today. I know I could ask you questions for hours. We've got tons here. I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in, you know, for all your questions. We really appreciate it. As I say, don't forget to use that button and go book a meeting. But we've got a ton from you coming up this week, so we'll let Dana go. So yeah, Dana, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Right, so as I mentioned, we've got a ton coming up for you this week. We just did the Enterprise Showcase, and remember the video for this Enterprise Showcase is going to be available. If you go back to infocus.github.com, or actually, you know, somebody will send you an email, I'm pretty sure, with links to it, but that'll be available pretty soon. Then tomorrow we're going to have an industry spotlight with Brittany Ice-Tenez talking about modernizing and unifying their development at Comcast. A great, actually quite inspiring story, how they're using inner source and, you know, using some of their open source practices and really modernizing the way that they work inside of a company. It's not just these, you know, unicorn sort of startups and things that can do this stuff. You too can do this. And I think the biggest takeaway from this week is, what can you do? What can you take away? And how can you improve the developer experience inside your organization this week so that the development process is just a little bit better? And if you add those things up, if you keep doing those improvements over the week, then before you know it, you have a fantastic developer experience for everybody. On Thursday, we have an enterprise roundtable, and this is going to be a very interactive roundtable style discussion. This is the only session of the week that's not going to be recorded because we want to keep it super interactive. And this is all going to be on creating a culture of collaboration. So we want it very collaborative. So and not be recorded that session. So make sure you tune in live for that. On Friday, we then have a fantastic session on getting traction with GitHub Actions. We had a ton of actions questions here today for Dana. If you've got those actions questions, please come back on Friday and we'll go through all of the action stuff. We'll do a deep dive onto that and then we'll ask all about those actions questions as well. That'd be brilliant if you can. Remember, these video on demand sessions are available in focus.github.com. The email instructions are going to be sent out to you, so make sure you keep checking your inbox. And before we wrap up, just a reminder, if you want to take a deeper dive on anything that Dana covered today or anything we're covering this week, then just click on the book a meeting button on the top of your screen and somebody will get back in touch with you shortly. And then one last little thing, please, if I could. I know some people had some issues getting started earlier on, so I apologize for those. We'd love to hear your feedback. This is a new platform for us and a new style. So please, if you could take a minute or two just to give us a short, answer a short survey to give us experience for today. Really, really appreciate that. You'll find a link to the survey. There's a little documents tab on the right of your screen. If you go in there's a survey link, and that'll take you to the link out to the survey. We kind of design the program for you, so want to make sure you're getting the best value from it and best use of your time. Really, 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 especially now, appreciate you taking the time to join us here today and then throughout the rest of the week for an hour. So yeah, please do take the time to give us your feedback. We'll try and improve things as we go through the week, and then next time we do this, we'll hopefully make them better again. And we're just going to try and keep optimizing, do DevOps on our events as well. Keep optimizing the process a little bit. And to do that, we need to learn and we need the data. So please do give us your feedback. And then without further ado, I think I will just wrap up now. And we will head on over to the wrap up slide. So any questions, you can also get in contact with us in focus@github.com. But I want to thank you very much for taking the time today. Thank you again to Dana for joining us. And we'll see you tomorrow for our session with Brittany Isonis from Comcast. Thanks very much. Goodbye.